Wow. 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 Guys, welcome to the Rick Shiels Golf Show podcast, episode 311. Am I right in saying that?
You are right.
I am an emotional wreck, guy. It is the Monday after the Ryder Cup, and what a Ryder Cup it was. At Bethpage Black, Team Europe won the Ryder Cup. Just in case, spoiler alert, just in case anybody who's listening to this podcast didn't know, Europe won the Ryder Cup by 15 to 13 points on one of the most incredible Ryder Cups I've ever witnessed. It was incredible from start to finish. One of the best. It will go down in history.
It had it all, didn't it? I think there's so much in this podcast to unpack about the weekend of golf, but I'll hold my hands up. I've sometimes been, I won't say critical of the Ryder Cup, but not always got into it, not always been that bothered about it. This year that changed, and certainly on Sunday, watching the singles and how, let's be honest, dominant the USA were, and how it felt like the start of the day, this is just going to be how much we're going to win by, to then actually, are we going to still win this? It was incredible.
Are you still going for European tattoo later this afternoon?
Yes, big Shane Lowry.
Right in your forehead. Well, it was. I mean, the final day, listen, we're not going to go through every single bit of the Ryder Cup. Most of you have watched it. Most of you know what's happened. We got off to an incredible start Thursday, Friday, winning all four sessions, the foursomes and the four balls. Standout performances from guys like Tommy Fleetwood, Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, Tyrrell Hatton. Unbelievable performances. From the USA side, I thought Cameron Young was sensational.
So good.
Sensational. Really disappointing displays on Friday and Saturday from world number one Scottie Scheffler, not picking up a single point. But like you said, it went to the final day where we had a dominating lead, an absolute dominating lead. And for it to be so close in the end was unbelievable. It really was. We only won one match yesterday, and that was Ludwig Oberg.
Yeah.
We won only one match. The USA guys came out all guns blazing, and like you said, it wasn't a question mark. Are we going to win? That was almost a given. It was really how much we were going to win by. But then the questions did get to the end. Are we actually going to win? Could this be the biggest fumble ever seen in world sport? Not even in golf. Could this be the biggest fumble ever? Luckily, it wasn't. Luckily, we secured it. Shane Lowry retained the Ryder Cup, and officially Tyrrell Hatton won the Ryder Cup for Team Europe.
It's very hard to use another sporting analogy, but I think arguably the best one I can think of is going into Sunday. Obviously, Europe was so dominant. It would almost be like Liverpool. And I'll be Liverpool, you can be Man United. Liverpool are 3-0 up in the 80th minute. It's looking like we've won the game. And then suddenly you get a goal back in 83rd minute. Now it's 3-1. Okay, that's fine. Then it's 3-2. Then it might even go to 3-3. And then Liverpool score to get it to 4-3. It was almost like that. And
well, it was that match, the Europa League match, the United last year.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Atletico Bilbao? And we scored, like, Harry Maguire scored in literally the last second of the match. I mean, it really, really could have gone the USA's way.
You know what? There'll probably be people listening to this, watching this, who, when I say what I'm going to say now, will think you are a moron. That happens quite a lot, I think. But I honestly wouldn't change it for the world, because as a spectator, as a fan of golf, obviously a European fan last night watching that, it was so exciting. I couldn't turn away from the screen. I just loved every second of it. And I think also, you know, as golfers who are proud of our sport, we know that the Ryder Cup is probably the biggest event in golf to attracting kind of just casual sports fans. I think it goes even way above and beyond the Masters does. If you are a casual sports fan who likes your football, likes your cricket, watches a bit of golf, and you watch that last night, you will see golf in the light, I hope we do, and how much we love it, of how it can be the most exciting sport on the planet.
I loved listening to the radio this morning. I was listening to TalkSport on the way in, and the way that they were talking about, and they're not massive golf fans, but the way that if you are into sport and you know about the Ryder Cup, which obviously most people do, you'd have flicked it on last night and you would have received one of the most entertaining sports products ever. And so many of my friends who don't play golf were texting me last night going, this is incredible. Like, this is totally, I understand why golf is so big. In my little group chat with my golf pals, we were having some little bets. And before the Ryder Cup started last night, we put a tenner in to predict the winning score, okay? 7 of us put tenner in, okay? 70 quid on the line, big dollar, right? None of us were even close to what the winning score was. The lowest prediction of the European score was 17.5 points. Wow. That was our lowest score prediction, yet we only end up getting 15 points, which is just, it's mental. The last day, the drama, the excitement, the matchups, the fact that Matt Fitzpatrick was 5 up against Bryson DeChambeau, for him to get half a point out that match was nothing more than superhero level. We saw Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy, world number 1 and 2, going together. Even Rory described it as a bit of a pillow fight. It wasn't their best golf. Scottie Scheffler took it down all the way down to the last and won that match. We had some other incredible matchups. And I don't know whether it's the difference between how the Europeans act more of a team. We are very much better in the foursomes, in the 4 balls. This week it showed again how Scottie Scheffler is I thought someone described it really well, a great solo hunter.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I think that explains a lot of the American team. I think they are very solo hunters and incredible at it. Bryson's a solo hunter. Scottie Scheffler is. Xander Schauffele is. Colin Morikawa is. Patrick Cantlay is. But our team, we are a team, and it's just showed that in so much passion, excitement, the camaraderie, the fact that, it wasn't an easy Ryder Cup. There was so much talk before the event, and it's been bubbling for 2 years, even before that, when New York was announced as being a Ryder Cup venue. It was always going to be hostile. It was always going to be a really horrible environment for Europe, which I think we should touch on in a moment, the way that the fans, in my opinion, certainly way stepped over the line this week in New York. And it would have only been a minority, but unfortunately they ruined it for the majority. But for them to go out there and act as a team and have each other's backs and have Luke Donald as their captain, who seems to have just absolutely smashed it out the park. There's so much talk about him doing 2 more years and whether he does a Dare Manor in 2027 to celebrate the 100th year of Ryder Cups.
Do you want to hear my thoughts on that?
Go for it.
I think he shouldn't.
I think he shouldn't.
Yeah, I think because it's one of those, I think, points where people are going to have probably an opinion either way, aren't they? Either, he definitely should, why not, or he shouldn't do. Selfishly, I guess, from a Ryder Cup Europe fans' perspective, I'd want him to, of course I would, because he's obviously the best man for the job. He's won it twice now, and I think no question in my mind he could do the same in Ireland. So again, from a fan. But from Luke Donald's own perspective, if he says now, okay, I've done my bit, I've had an incredible victory over the US on their home soil, I've also obviously won for Europe in Rome, that's me, see you later, I'll be a vice captain maybe, or I'll be a support mechanism for the team going forward. He can then sit there, the absolute king of the Ryder Cup.
I think we've got a real great opportunity right now, and I agree with your point. I think we've got a really great opportunity right now that Luke Donald has been the face and the captain, but his support team behind him has been instrumental in the last 2 Ryder Cups. The Molinari brothers, obviously Eduardo Molinari with all of his stats, Thomas Bjorn, Elazabeth, Alex Noren being there, ready to play if he needed to be. And I think if we're clever right now, what we won't do is just dismantle that organisation. Like how it should work now, and again, this would be the dream, keep that hub. Keep that hub of individuals, and why not it be Francesco Molinari next? But keep the hub. Let Luke come into a more of a vice-captain role, but one of the Molinari brothers. And then what I'd love to see then is bring another player into the fold who is a vice-captain, who's in the mix for 4, 5, 6, well, too many years, but potentially in the fold for that, learning what we've learned right now and then progressing into that captain's role, where I think the Americans do it totally different. They just go, okay, Keegan Bradley this year. Okay, next time we're going to do Tiger Woods. I feel like we've got that real hub right now that we should harness and keep hold of, and bring in the captaincies from below and rise them up, and then the captain kind of sits back into the organisation.
It's an interesting point, because I kind of sit in two worlds with this when I think about the Ryder Cup. What is the point of the captaincy and of the vice captains? Is it to go out there and win the Ryder Cup, in which case, that's not too dissimilar to an international football manager. You want the best person in the job, whoever that may be, with the best team around them. And if that is the way we're going, then I actually don't see why you would literally move from Luke Donald and the current team, because they are the ones who have proven that twice now. If, however, the Ryder Cup captaincy is almost more of a ceremonial role where you have been a European golf legend for X number of years, it's now your turn to have a go, then give it to somebody else next time. If we want to win this every 2 years and become the dominant force in world golf, then surely it remains at Luke Donald.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
It's a really weird one. And you look at the pool of potential captains. Obviously, there's lots of potential captains, which things need to get sorted out, whether Ian Poulter's ever going to be a captain, Lee Westwood ever going to be a captain, Henrik Stenson gets to be a captain, properly. That those things with Liv and Ryder Cup need obviously sorting out, potentially if they don't, who knows, in the future. I'd love to see those in the captain's fold, definitely. But to your point, if we want to guarantee us winning for this next X amount of years, why would you move away? It should be Luke Donald's decision. And I think it will be ultimately Luke Donald's decision whether he wants to carry on or not. I actually stayed up and listened to the press conference last night, and he gave a little insight. The press asked him, what little things have you done to kind of form this great team? And he said, it's the little things. Obviously, the big things, but also it's the little things. And he said, even in our hotel rooms, there was a strip of light coming in through the door, and they brought stuff to cover that strip of light. The bedding on the beds wasn't as comfortable as it could be. So they changed all the bedding of all the players and put much comfier bedding on. And it sounds daft. They're important factors, like really important. You pick your pairs, you pick your layout, you pick your formation, who's going out there, and he'll get lots of support from Eduardo Molinari on that because he's the stat man. But like you say, you then go all these little touches that really make a player feel important and make a player feel like, wow, you're really looking after me here, and I appreciate it.
That's another thing, again, where I kind of have these dual thoughts, and I lean more towards that side that you're talking about, because when I think about these golfers, they are literally the 24 or whatever of the best golfers on the planet. They can go out and beat one another. The main thing is that they play great golf and they do that. So you think, well, do all these things actually matter? But then I kind of think to myself on the other side is actually, well, if anything is a 0.05% of a gain, why not have that? If they had a little bit of a better sleep because it was darker in the bedroom and then they go and feel fresher and they win the match, then it's obviously worked.
Well, did you see our dressing room and our recovery room and the gym and the facilities? I didn't see any of that from the USA team. Like, we used our fund that the USA team back pocketed. We used that fund to enhance the experience for the players and make sure the wives are happy and make sure the recovery is fantastic and make sure I'm sure the food was incredible. Like, all those real important touches. What's really funny, 5 minutes ago, I was saying I'm not sure Luke Donald should carry on being captain. Now I think he absolutely has to stay as captain. In 2 years, I want to see Luke Donald as captain again in 2027.
And that's the thing, again, as do I as a fan. But
I've completely changed my mind.
No, but I think you're right. I think both things can be true. You want that to happen for the team, and I would agree with you in that wholeheartedly. But for him in his individual, he can now, if he wants to, not necessarily sail off into the sunset, he's going to be a huge figure in the world of golf, but he can sit there now and go, I am arguably the best golf Ryder Cup captain of all time, or certainly up in that kind of conversation. Well, if you go to lose in Ireland on home soil, suddenly does that leave a bit of a sour taste in people's mouth and you remember that loss?
Well, was it? I think Tony Jacklin has won home and away. And I'm sure there's one more captain that's done it. It might be from the USA team. There's two captains. There's now three captains that have done it home and away. So if he did roll the dice, he could be in another level where he's the only captain ever to win it 3 times.
Do you think, speaking about Scottie Scheffler, obviously I saw that kind of tweet about the best hunters hunt alone, and it was referencing obviously Tiger Woods doesn't have the strongest of Ryder Cup records, and obviously Scottie Scheffler didn't have a great week. How much do those guys care? Now, I'll almost preempt this a little bit that Tiger Woods, I know, never, ever, ever wants to go out onto the golf course and not win. I think Scottie Scheffler is exactly the same. Maybe a little bit different in how he's kind of approached it, but just never, ever wants to lose. He wants to win everything he does. all these guys are hyper competitive, hence why they got to the top of their sport. But, once the kind of dust settles in the next kind of 5, 6, 7 days, couple of weeks, whatever it might be, Shane Lowry will be able to thrive for that moment forever, and rightly so, because what he achieved yesterday is unbelievable. And I think he'll never have to buy a drink again in anywhere in Europe he goes to. But when they're going out winning major championships and, you retire at the end of your career, do the guys care more about having majors sat in the cabinet or being on successful Ryder Cup teams?
The question's been asked to Poulter in the past. Would you swap any Ryder Cup for a major? He says no. Now, is that easy to say because he's not won a major and he's won however many Ryder Cups? I'm not sure. There is something special. I think the Europeans see that. I don't know from the Americans, like you say, they're unbelievably competitive, but I almost feel like it hurts their individual pride rather than their team pride. Like, I almost think like they're so more bothered about their personal performances, etc. I think would they rather go 5-0 and USA win than go 0 all the way through and USA team.
So 5-0, 5-0 and USA lose.
Yes, or would they rather win 0 matches but Team USA win? And I don't know about the American team. I'm not sure the answer to that. I feel like Europeans would 100% say, as long as Team Europe win, I don't care if I don't win a single match.
But hear me out. One thing that puzzles me a bit with team golf like this is, let's just say we use football as an analogy. You could be a striker, and Ronaldo's a good example of maybe not. He's probably the best player to ever play. But let's say a player like that who wants to score goals. And you kind of sometimes think that they would rather score and the team lose, or they'd rather try and have a shot and score themselves than pass and get a guaranteed assist or whatever. Then that person's attitude can ultimately hinder the team because they're too selfish, don't play the right ball, etc. But actually, what I don't really understand is, if every player in the US team just wants to win, well, how does that affect the team negatively? Because if you all do win, the team do win.
But does it? Yeah, you're right.
See what I mean?
Does it feel? I don't know. Does it feel? Like, imagine being in that environment without that team camaraderie. Like, do you not think that Europeans go through that and just know that they've got those guys?
Yeah,
have got them on the back, and they've got them. They're supporting them. They would literally, jump in front of a flying tea peg to protect them. I don't know if that helps. I'm sure that must be a level of support. Like, when you're playing with a partner and you've got so much trust in them, faith in them, and they've got your back and you've got their back, it is so liberating. I just don't know if the Americans ever get that. But like you say, does it matter? Why should it matter? If those 12 Americans are absolutely adamant of winning, well, surely 12 people who want to win,
and that's the thing,
is going to steer the ship to winning.
Correct.
But listen, don't forget, was it 4 years ago now, we got absolutely battered at Whistling Straits. Like, they absolutely demolished us, and they looked fantastic. We beat them in Rome. It was a close match. We beat them in New York. It was incredibly close in the end. There's not much in this. I'm sure the broadcast was saying, in all of the matches of all of the years, I'm sure there's something scary like only 2 or 3 points in. If you tallied up all the European points, all the USA points, it's like 2 or 3 points in it in total. It could go either way. It really could. So are those little things we talked about before still those little tiny dominoes that make those big differences in the long run? I mean, when I watched this, and I genuinely thought there was a couple of things. I thought the level of golf for the Ryder Cup was incredible.
It did feel that way.
I didn't. It was a surprise if somebody hit a bad shot and you didn't see many. You're looking at 25 footers and expecting them to hole it. That is freakishly good. When there's only 24 golfers on a golf course, and sometimes less because of the foursomes and four balls, the amount of birdies that were made were frightening.
It was crazy.
The amount of unbelievable tee shots on that first hole was outrageous. Now, interestingly, I think that first tee was the least intimidating tee I've seen for Ryder Cup for a lot of years.
Because of the way the grandstand was wrapped.
Yeah. And it sounds daft, that, but like in Rome, you were round that tee box. In Paris, it was a bit more open, but it still felt quite intimidating. There's a really intimidating tee shot in Paris. You couldn't miss left. You had to hit a really nice long iron or hybrid. Where I felt like Bethpage Black, the grandstand was huge, wasn't it? But it was quite a bit distance away from the tee. And in a weird way, it was quite an open hole. Like, listen, I wouldn't have liked to stood there and tried to hit a driver, no question. But I feel like you could get away with a bit, couldn't you? You could kind of play quite aggressive. And even if you pulled it a bit, you're just in left rough. If you pushed it a bit, it wasn't the end of the world. It was a very friendly opening tee shot. I thought the course was really boring. I thought it was one of the most boring golf courses I've seen for a Ryder Cup. It was beautiful, don't get me wrong, and I'd love to play it. But it just didn't have those dramatic holes, did it? Like we were talking just this morning about, it wasn't designed to be a Ryder Cup course. It was designed to be a major golf course where US Opens, PGAs, etc. have hosted, and the rough is really thick, and it's notoriously known, Bethpage Black, as being one of the hardest golf courses in the world. Yes, they cut the rough down. They didn't make it super long. But it wasn't a match play course. There was no dramatic 15th, 16th, 17th holes. There was no drivable par fours, which I really missed. It was the 2 par fives, which weren't exciting. There was no water.
That was something I noticed.
You needed a bit of drama. Like, you look at Le Golf National, you could argue, say, went too far the opposite way. There was way too much water in Paris. But like Whistling Straits, loads of really great opportunities where, risk and reward. If you pulled it, you might find the water. It felt like every match came down to the putting competition, didn't it?
Yeah, it was on the greens.
Every match was all about putting. You never won a hole because someone sprayed it in the water hazard, did you? Where you saw that so much more in Rome and Paris and Whistling Straits.
Having said that, though, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate here, I actually like seeing it on the greens. I like the simplicity of, if this guy holds this putt, he wins the hole. Not that, he's bouncing the water. So I don't know. It's kind of like, I think visually I want to see more water. And I think, like you said, there's golf courses that look better on the TV. But I also didn't feel like, when I was watching it, I didn't mind personally.
Yeah, I found the course as many times, and I learned to know the golf course. Again, I've not been there, so I didn't know it pre. Where a lot of these courses have known pre tournament. A lot of holes I was like, what hole is this again? Like, what? This just looks like the same hole they played over and over again. The greens were quite flat. I mean, that probably made for why so many putts went in. It was just a bit. I would have loved a bit more drama. You're going to get that at Dare Manor. Like, a Dare Manor, the layout of a Dare Manor is fantastic. There's loads of risk-reward holes. There's drivable par fours. There's interesting par threes. It just felt like it lacked a little bit of that. I think we've got to talk about the New York crowd because everybody knew going into the Ryder Cup in New York at Bethpage, the crowd was going to be the 13th man. We talked about it in the last couple of podcasts. We felt like that was going to be a real advantage. I'm sorry, USA fans, your chants are absolutely awful. Like, USA, USA, USA. And when you even try to do like Scottie Scheffler, it was awful. So please, you need to work on your chants. Our European chants are so much more humorous and so much more creative. I suppose that goes back to our kind of more football roots, really. So, there's a bit of that. I thought that again, the minority, and it would have been late in the day, there would have been a lot of liquid courage happening. I thought the heckling was absolutely disgusting. I thought it was borderline. It was way over the line. Certainly Rory McIlroy got it a lot. His wife, I believe, got it a lot. She got thrown a beer on top of her head, which was disrespectful, awful. And it was really interesting. Rory talked about in the press conference after, and this kind of works. Like, is this going to happen in each Ryder Cup going forward? I don't think it is, because in European, I would say, and again, I've been to a handful of Ryder Cups now here in Europe. I've never been to one in USA yet. I was supposed to go this year, but I didn't end up going in the end. But when it's in Europe, we fully, all our chants and all our energy and our vocal support is to support the European team. Sometimes if a USA team had a bad shot, it's a bit of heckling and jeckling, a bit of booze, but nothing. Rory talked about in his press conference how he was playing with Scottie Scheffler yesterday, the world number one. He got more vocal energy negatively towards him than Scottie Scheffler got even close to being positive towards him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I feel like that doesn't happen in Europe. We're so much more supportive of the Europeans. We're not there to badmouth the USA, swear at them, be disgustingly vile to them, which is what unfortunately happened again by a minority in New York at Bethpage.
See, I've got weird thoughts on this because obviously, ultimately, I kind of do agree with you in sentiment that the last thing we want is someone like Rory playing golf and getting, personal verbal attacks about his wife or his personal situation. I think the beer getting thrown I think that was just in his direction, ended up hitting his wife, was obviously terrible. That was just absolute scumbag behaviour, and that person should be thrown out. And, you know, there's no place for that in any sport, let alone golf. But I think the only place where I get a little bit, maybe, I question, does it get blown out of proportion a little bit, is because when I compare golf to other sports, and the other sport in question I'm going to use is football, soccer to the American listeners, we know that, let's be honest, football has quite a toxic culture where players get booed, get coins thrown at them, get spat at, get verbally abused all the time. Things about the family, the children, horrible, horrible things, threats on social media. It's disgusting. And partly why I do like football, I almost don't like it sometimes because of that culture. Golf couldn't be further removed from that. So don't get me wrong, some of the things that happened over this couple of days were definitely from a golfing standpoint over the line and too far. But actually, you compare it to other sports, and it's still, I think, respectful in a sense of there was the odd time where Rory had to back away from a shot. But you imagine now, you think about, let me go with Bruno Fernandes, I'll use your team, taking a penalty against Liverpool. Do you think people are going to sit there in silence and let him take a kick?
No, of
He
course.
get screamed at, shouted at, fingers at him, all sorts of stuff. And he has to take that on board and try and score the penalty. When Shane Lowry had that putt to essentially win it, but quote unquote, you know, retain the cup, dead silent. So I think, yes, there's some parts of it where fans do go above and beyond and too far. But actually, I just don't want this to get a thing where golfers almost look down the nose and go, we don't have that in our game. 'Cause it's like, there's a balance. It has gone too far. Yes, I can agree with you on that. But let's not go crazy and say that, you know, Rory's getting objects thrown at him left, right and centre. There was one idiot that did it, and that person rightfully should be banned from every golf tournament ever. But as a rule, there's such small, isolated incidents.
But that's it.
Completely.
And I think in golf, because it's so quiet, that the minority are so loud.
Well, and that's the thing as well. So on that, I wonder, is the twofold. Was this massive narrative for the last 2 years, which I think we've probably almost been part of, that said, oh, it's going to be a hostile crowd. Have we almost made the Americans feel like, wait a minute, we've got something to live up to here. Us New Yorkers are renowned for being volatile. We need to try and up our game, guys, and be really, you know, booing the guys out there. Have we almost put that on them a little bit,
well,
maybe?
I was actually thinking this on the drive in this morning. Like, if you call a kid naughty, they become naughty.
Yeah.
Like, because they think, oh, well, that's my identity. That's what I've got to be. Have the press, have us, have other people given New York this kind of, like you say, this tag. Well, you better live up to what you're going to talk about. We know the chant's going to be awful. We know they're going to be heckling. It just like say,
yeah.
I think it. You're right. There was many times where there was perfect silence and respectfully great. I thought that the counting was quite humorous. I quite like that when they're kind of counting for the player, you know, before they take the shot. I could buy into that. I thought it was quite good. What was also mad, it was $700 a ticket.
Crazy.
Like, these aren't, you know, they're not football fans. They're not paying 50 quid to go and sit in the terraces. $700 for just a normal grounds pass. And they're risking so much by shouting abuse, and you know, they could get kicked out forever. They could get banned from every golf tournament. It's wild to do it. All it would have been, I'd have loved to have seen that energy, and I love the American energy, the whooping, the hollering. It's sometimes grating, but I get their energy. If that would have just been targeted and pointed more to a positive for their own players rather than actually being kind of what felt like on the broadcast. It's hard when you're not there. It felt more like 60% negative and 40% positive. It would have been, if it had been 90% positive, who'd known, maybe the outcome might have been totally different. But I just feel like that they were very much directing it. They knew that they were struggling, and it could have been different. Like if they would have won the foursomes on that Friday, it might have been 90% positive. They almost had to use dirtier tactics because they knew they were 4-0 down or whatever the score was.
You know what it feels
down.
like? This is a ridiculous analogy, but imagine you've got a really tough school in the city centre of London where lots of bad things happen. You've got kids who might be very naughty, might be fights, might be bloody weapons in the school, smoking, like really terrible things. That is not right, obviously. But this feels like because golf is so much more in prim and proper, this is like a private school where like one kid has pushed another kid. It's like, oh my God, William pushed Henry today. Oh my God. It's like, whoa, in that school, that incident is terrible. But in another school, it's nothing. You think about what happened at this event. If that was in the Premier League football match, it would be classed as a friendly game. wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think it's like this balance of, I don't want any of those idiots to be allowed at golf tournaments. I really don't. But I just think there's a level of blown out proportion where I personally feel like some people, I don't want that to be the narrative. And I also think, last thing on this as well, is as we want the Ryder Cup to be bigger and better year on, year out, that is going to bring more very casual / even non-golf fans going to the event. Of course it is. Certainly if it's $700 a ticket, those fans might act in the way that people would act. We'd like to see them act. That's the thing. And the last thing on this as well is, you very rarely at any golf event, whether it's the Open, the Masters, the PGA Championship, whatever it might be, see emotion like you see these players. The way that Shane Lowry nearly had a heart attack on the 18th green, the way that Bryson was going crazy, Justin Thomas was going crazy, Rosie was going crazy. And I think that feeds off the crowd. So although it can go a bit too far and bubble over, we've almost got the crowd to thank in a bizarre way for making the players react in that way, because you don't see players like that at the Open Championship, where everyone's a lot more formal and clapping and polite. They might do a nice little hand up in the air, at most little fist bump or, whatever it might be. So there's a balance, I guess. It did go too far, but
that's all it is. There just needs to be a little bit of an understanding. Listen, if you step over the line, this imaginary line that we're going to, people know what that line is. It's got cost to do. Like, do you know what I mean? You are going to be ejected. Let's not do that.
The line should be, this is where the line should be drawn.
How many Fs?
Would you say what you're about to say to a player if one of these two things happen? You're either on your own, not with your friends, or you're within 2 foot of that player? Because would you call Rory and his wife if you stood next to him without your friends? Probably not, unless you're an absolute lunatic. Would you say, or,
I hope it goes in the bunker?
Yeah, you might say that. You go, fair enough, yeah, it's a bit funny. Or the really funny one I saw was about when he used his button. It's like, you don't need a button to choke, Rory. Like, those things are really, and they loved it. So it's kind of this balance of and I think the reason I'm using that as an example, really, really silly one again, and my last stupid analogy that probably won't even work. When you see groups of lads who are like 18 or something walking around the streets, and there's like 7 or 8 of them and they're acting all dead hard because they're with their mates, it's like, if you're on your own, you probably wouldn't be acting in that same manner walking down the street. You'd probably have your head looking at your phone and being a quiet little mouse. So it's kind of the same concept. It's like these grown fellas who have had 6 beers each, who, they're all out there thinking that they're great because they've had 6 beers and they're shouting stuff at Rory. It's like, well, if you wouldn't do it on your own, it's not that great doing it with your friends acting hard, is it? So that's the balance. I think it will be different in Ireland.
It 100% will be. It'll be so humorous in Ireland. Like, the banter and the chants will be hilarious. I honestly can't wait for it. And again, if it was in New York every single year, I'd worry. Like, let's see where the waste management's got to. Like, do you know what I mean? That's got to a point now where...
See, I think that's well worse.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it started at one point.
Well, yeah, true.
I think that's the whole conversation. It started at a point, and it's gone, and it's gone, and it's up, and it keeps going. And now they're like, oh crap, it's really got out of control. It's turned into a stag do. Where hence this year they restricted beer sales. They had to rein it back, didn't they?
That's fair.
I think that's probably the concern for the Ryder Cup. It's like, whoa, we love this tournament. Let's just come on. Let's just bring it back. But like you say, if it was every year in New York, I think you'd have that worry that it could become a bit like the waste management. I think the fact it's going to move around. Where is it in the States next time?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Ryder Cup.
The other thing why you're looking at that we need to discuss that we haven't discussed yet, which had a lot of opinion and engagement, was the whole thing around the envelope. So obviously everybody listening and watching knows this story's happened obviously at the weekend, but Victor Hovland couldn't play on Sunday. So we shared a half point with the USA because they put the name of Harris English in the envelope, which is a tradition apparently they've done for obviously many, many years. If one player from either team can't play, then you share the point. And kind of understandably so, there was a lot of negativity from the US on social media and stuff about this house, saying it's a ridiculous rule, it's unfair. And again, I think this is one of those things that there's going to be people on both sides kind of agreeing with the rule or disagreeing with the rule. For me, it is a rule. So, there's going to be some, I'm sure, literal or metaphorical rule book that's given to the team and the captains, obviously, before the event. And this is one of those rules where you write down a player's name, and if one of the other team's players is injured, then you share the point and that person doesn't play. So Harris English didn't play. It happened in 1991, I think, where the US actually won with that rule in place. They couldn't have a player play, and obviously we had to forfeit a match or half a match, and they went on to win. So I suppose it's a bit of swings and roundabouts, really.
You know what would have been really clever? If 5 of our players got injured.
Apparently, there's only allowed 1.
Oh, because then we would have got
Yeah.
2.5 points.
You're only allowed 1. And I think this is the thing. I said this before to the guys earlier on today. Like, say again, I'm going to use football as analogies one more time. If Liverpool and Man United are playing football and in the penalty area, Van Dijk pushes Bruno Fernandes, the referee and the VAR, etc., they have a decision to make. Was it a push? Was it not? And ultimately, there's going to be a decision that probably goes wrong for one of the two teams because it's either going to be a penalty or it's not a penalty, and one other half is upset about it. That's because there's obviously opinion behind that kind of rule and that, it's interpretation. This is literally a rule that both teams knew leading into the event. So it's kind of like it's sorry if it's upset the Americans and they feel begrudged by that, but it is one of the rules, unfortunately.
And by the way, Victor would have won anyway.
Well,
so they're whinging over nothing.
One thing I did think yesterday, though, and this is maybe another conversation for you, I think drawing and having retaining is dated. Imagine how good it would be if it was 14 all and there was actually a playoff hole.
I agree. I was thinking that last night.
Where you both pick a player.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it'd be too much that player even to comprehend and they couldn't swing the golf club with the pressure. But halving and retaining does not feel...
No, I would have loved... If it would have been 14 all yesterday, imagine the scenes.
Oh, it would have been unbelievable.
Imagine the scenes. It would have...
Or, which would have been the case here, actually, if it ended a draw, the away team take the victory. Because it's harder to get a draw abroad.
Oh, instead of whoever's already got the trophy.
Yeah.
I suppose...
It would have been the same in this instance, but...
For us, it's often an advantage for the away team anyway, typically. Because how history have said, it's not often that the away team win on foreign soil. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's a disadvantage.
No, so normally... So in Rome...
Yeah.
They had to get to 14 to retain because they'd won in Western Straits.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of always an advantage. Typically, it's an advantage anyway.
I get you.
We've almost broke serve to some better of a term where in Ireland next time we do only have to retain.
Yeah.
Because we've broken their serve.
Yeah, I get you.
Do you know what I mean? It's in Ireland 2027. Missouri. No, it's not Missouri. Hazeltine in Minnesota, 2029, Barcelona, Spain, 2031, California, 33, and then we've not announced 2034 yet, 2035, sorry, 2037, it's in Congressional Country Club in Maryland. So I don't think any of those venues are massively more hostile than New York. That's what I'm trying to get out there.
Question for you then, because the only downside to the Ryder Cup, I feel like now you have this...
It's over.
Yeah, well, it's over, isn't it? And it really, you don't start thinking about it now for another probably 18 months or so. Do you think there's a space for it? Would it work every year?
No.
Every 2 is the way to go?
I really like every 2. Because it comes around quick, doesn't it?
It does, to be fair.
Like that, I can't believe it was 2 years ago in Rome.
No, it's true.
I couldn't believe that. I was almost like... What?
It's weird, yeah.
I'm sure that was only 6 months ago. Because next year you'll have there's no exciting end of the year, but you'll kind of just get through that next year and then it's like banging straight into Ryder Cup again. Like I really like the 2-year split. I don't think I'd change anything. Don't think I'd change how often it's played. Because I didn't realise how many times the format has changed.
No, I don't know that.
So historically, it was just one foursomes match and one singles match. It was played in one day.
All right, wow.
So it's foursomes in the morning, singles in the afternoon, that was it. Huh. Then they changed it to maybe one foursomes, 2 singles. Then it was a foursome, 4 balls and a singles. The format's changed a lot.
The format is good now, isn't it?
It's really good. It's really good.
What do you enjoy more, the foursomes or the 4 ball? I like the foursomes.
Yeah, I do. I feel like the foursomes, like you've always got that backup. So like you watch and it's like this putt to tie the hole, and he's got a 20-footer. But what they've not showed is his playing partner's got a 3-footer also to tie the hole. Yeah. So this putt's not that actually important. Yeah. It'd be nice if it went in, but it's not that important. Where I feel like if it was,
it's a simpler watch in foursomes.
Foursomes, you're like, oh no, this has to go in. This it's a horrible format. I hate foursomes, but this has to go in. The way that Europeans played in that first day in foursomes was amazing. And also, there is a little bit more strategy in foursomes. There's got
to be more, hasn't there? There's things like the golf ball, the gelling together, huge. The tee's going to hit off.
Like do you want a long hitter with a short hitter? Do you want a great putter with another great putter? Like, what is the formula? That was really interesting. And again, it was only afterwards that it come out. Was it Colin Morikawa and Harris English? Out of all of the pairings, they were statistically the worst possible pairing the Americans can put together, and they put them together twice.
I couldn't believe that there's 132 combinations.
Yeah.
That seems a lot, but obviously if you do the maths, it works out right. But
that statistically, that's the worst, and he played them twice. And he faced, was it Rory and Tommy both times or something? It's like, Jesus, you literally just give us 2 points.
You know what I couldn't believe this week until hearing that, and I don't know where I've been, that Russell Henley's the 3rd best player on the planet.
I know.
I couldn't believe that. I didn't have any idea he was that highly ranked. I know there's some obviously excuse that with obviously that Liv don't get the world ranking points and all that kind of stuff, but that seemed to me weird.
Really odd. I'll tell you who I was really impressed with, and I thought he was going to have a stinking Ryder Cup. I thought JJ Spawn was good. He really surprised me, considering literally, was it the players this year that I didn't really know anything about him. He lost to Rory in the playoff. He then went on to win the US Open after that whole massive putt at Oakmont. He's had an unbelievable season. Yeah, what a great season he's had. What do you think about the bit of drama, the bit of fighting on Saturday afternoon?
I kind of quite like it.
I loved it.
I think we need these narratives, don't we? It doesn't. Again, I know I keep going back to football and it's a bit silly, but compared to football, it was nothing, was it? It was a little bit of heat, a little bit of, chatting this, that, the other. Yeah, and then Finno stepped in and it all went quiet, and then that's it.
Absolutely loved it.
But you want to see it, don't you?
I loved it. I was literally watching going, oh my God, just inject this into my veins, because this is what the Ryder Cup's about. And listen, we don't want to see people we don't want to see players fighting, but it's just a bit of Justin Rose had a putt. Bryson, his caddy, was kind of in his eye line. I loved how Justin Rose afterwards said, I politely asked him to move out of the way. I might not have said it in that exact terms. He obviously didn't. And then for him to hold the putt, then for Bryson to step up and hold his putt, I was like, yes, how good is this?
Bryson must be the most annoying person to play against, because yesterday when he was obviously on that comeback from Fitzpatrick and he was 5 down and he was holding those putts, then obviously claw it back. Although I like Bryson, I think what he's done for golf recently has been incredible. Obviously, I've met him a few times yourself, and he's always come across very nicely, but he was annoying me. But that was a good thing in the sense of he was doing, as a European, I was watching going, you're doing my head in, which is a sign of a great player.
Bryson has that, and I tell you what, Patrick Cantlay has that. Every time I saw Patrick Cantlay on that TV, I was like, he's going to hold this. Yeah. He is just... slow as anything. That'll be interesting to see what happens if he does play in Ireland, because I think this new crowd clock watch could definitely come in with Patrick Cantlay. They've run out of numbers, but I just thought that was every time he stepped, I was like, you are just going to hold this. He's like they need to dress him all in black, because he just a bit like a villain, isn't he? Yeah. That annoyed me on the final day, how close the outfits were.
The outfits aren't great.
No, they're awful. Why do they go with these stripes?
Keep turning up as well.
Why do they keep going with these stripes all the time?
On the final day meant the 4 times we've won abroad or something.
But the USA always wear stripes. Yeah. We always wear stripes.
It never looks like the sorry to whoever designed it. I don't know who made the I think was it Ralph Lauren, the US.
Ralph Lauren's the US one. It's some really, really expensive Italian brand.
They just look cheap. The colours are all turning up all the time. I noticed. I don't know if that was just the heat or something. It doesn't look smart.
No, we had that brand weirdly when we they must have signed a long-term deal when who was the captain in Paris in the Golf National. Why is that slipped my mind?
Let's have a look. I'm quiz on this now.
Thomas Bjorn. Thomas Bjorn, because he's got the tattoo on his arse.
Thomas Bjorn.
He must have signed a long-term deal with some fancy Italian brand, because they've been the sponsors in Paris, Rome, and now New York.
Is it Mason Flex or something?
And Whistling Straits. I've never heard of it, but it really annoyed me, because on Saturday the outfits were very different. You had the Europeans in this kind of maroon colour and the USA team in their kind of navy Ralph Lauren tops. And the final day, apart from the way that as soon as I looked at the TV, it was either a red hat or a white hat, which made it a bit easier to spot. But the T-shirts often just like, oh God, who is this? Who's playing?
Yeah, the outfits aren't amazing, but it was really, really good. It obviously, there was big expectations for the Ryder Cup. There is every time, and this for me absolutely delivered. Oh no, is it Loro Piana or something? Is it called?
Yeah, that's it.
That's the one. There was lots of talking points. I think that's what we want as fans. You know, people want to go into work today or down the pub, whatever, to the golf club next time they play and chat about the Ryder Cup. You couldn't really have asked for more.
Do you think, in hindsight, and hindsight's a wonderful thing, do you think Bradley Keegan wish he'd picked himself? Keegan Bradley wish he'd picked himself?
No, I think to play and to have that responsibility is two very different things. And I also think, is someone like Luke Donald the perfect captain, in a sense of not only is he obviously doing such a good job of it, but the fact that he, is a former world #1 golfer. He's not at his pomp anymore, I think that's fair to say, but he can still obviously play the game to a very good level. Is someone that's still so competitive as a player, as a captain, is that the right fit? I don't know.
Personally, it was always the wrong fit. It was such a left field choice to go with Keegan Bradley. It really, really surprised me because, like you say, he only just missed out on being on the team for Rome. Famously when he got that phone call on the Netflix documentary, like he was devastated. And then, 6 months later, being asked to be the captain. So random.
I'm going to make a bold prediction here, though, is if Tiger Woods is the next captain, or maybe I should say when he is the captain, whenever that might be, if it's this time in Ireland or the following Ryder Cup, I think he will win, because I think him as a captain is just going to be an absolute formidable force. I know he's not had the best Ryder Cup record himself, but you think every single player in that locker room will have the most insane level of respect, of admiration for him. I think imagine him walking around like geeing up the crowd. Imagine almost the fear from the European players. I'd almost be conflicted myself. So I was wanting Tiger to do well because it's mad. I just think he will be unbelievable.
I'm just double checking. Wasn't he a playing captain for the President's Cup in 2019?
I'm not sure.
I'm just checking what the result was. Bernard, local Australian. Do you remember that? Was Tiger Woods the
he wasn't playing
USA?
Golf,
Oh yeah, you're so new to it. I don't think he won.
I just thinking about Tiger now, the place he's at, where his golf career is, let's be honest, probably winded down. He's not going to be, I don't think, competitive again. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think he is. Him as a captain in the Ryder Cup would just be incredible.
Well, he's got a really close relationship with JP McManus, who owns Adair Manor. So there's that conversation. I mean, it would be incredible. I mean,
hear me out now, maybe before we wrap this podcast up. We've got the next Ryder Cup in Ireland. Luke Donald stays on, goes right one more time. I'm going to be Ryder Cup captain. Tiger is the US captain in Ireland.
Do you not think Tiger would want to do would want to be a captain only in the USA?
I don't know. Good question. I don't know.
It's a daunting task to take on a captaincy for an away Ryder Cup.
I don't think Tiger's scared by daunting tasks. I think that might G him up even more. Yeah, and also the fact that he can't play right now, or he's not going to get back to that level, that could give him that new lease of life. And you see it a little bit when when you see him now, maybe give interviews. I know he's not done as much recently, or you see him obviously around his son Charlie, or he does feel like he's kind of got to that point now where he's becoming like, he's an, I don't say elder statesman, but he's getting to that part in his career now where that kind of captaincy role would fit him perfectly.
Yeah, 2019 when he was captain for the President's Cup, they won 16-14 against Ernie Els.
I'm just thinking
in Australia.
There you go.
So it wasn't away President's Cup.
There you go.
Well, it was amazing. I can't wait to scroll through Instagram for the rest of the afternoon, watching highlights and watching celebrations and looking at the stories from the after parties, etc. I think it was unbelievable. I'm really excited to see what happens from this moment forth. Huge shout out to Luke Donald, Team Europe. Obviously, Tommy Fleetwood played amazing. Shane Lowry, Tyrrell Hatton, John Rahm, all the guys did an unbelievable job.
Question for you. Today's Monday. right now, I understand you're in the headspace similar to me. We think the Ryder Cup's everything. At what day in this week will you kind of forget about it again? Is it going to be even this week? Will it be like Wednesday, Thursday? Like, oh, that was good. Yeah, I forgot about that. When was the Ryder Cup again? Who won? What was the golf course?
Yeah, Wednesday. It's bad, that, isn't it?
That's just what it's like. That's just the thing with the Ryder Cup.
You've really ruined that for me.
Sorry, I know.
Jeez.
What about if they did? I was going to say, it's not like in football, you could have a trophy presentation. So where would it be? What country would it be in? France? Belgium? Who knows? Yeah,
Switzerland's quite neutral.
Yeah. By the time it's Wednesday, oh yeah, I forgot about the Ryder Cup.
Oh.
It's the only downside. Hear me out. It's the only downside. Like winning the Premier League or the Champions League, we dine out on it for a long time with friends. The only slight downside to the Ryder Cup. But hey, it's still Monday. You can enjoy it for a couple more days. And then we can start thinking about 2 years' time, Ireland. You could become a massive Ryder Cup fan in the next 2 years.
I am.
Well,
it's about you being a big... You've done the biggest U-turn.
I got sucked into it this time. I did.
And you did in Rome.
I think what it is, it's great.
Just admit it.
I like it. I like the Ryder Cup. Shoot me. I'm sorry. Wow.
Guys, thanks for listening. Stay tuned. Lots more to come. And again, congrats to Team Europe. Commiserations, Team USA. You just simply weren't good enough. And we'll see you next time. Bye.